We're here on the range today with the Tactical 21 team. This is Coach Ed. This is Coach Tony. And I'm about to answer a question from the keyboard warrior YouTube world. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
So this actually is not a hater.
All right, then I take all that back.
Yeah. Roll our way back.
Starting off with an easy one.
Do you think most people are mentally ready for violence or just curious?
Probably curious. I mean, and again, wow, perspective. It's interesting that I'm answering this question sitting on the table with these guys, so no, they're not. I mean, you can prepare, but the only way to actually get a taste of what it's like is to place yourself into some variation of it, which, is going to be some sort of training. And, not everybody's up for that level of training. Even martial arts, there's things that most people prefer not to do just because it's a hostile environment. And, they choose not to place themselves in that, even though it's training. But that is part of understanding violence. Mm-hmm. In my world, getting on the mat and grabbing the guy that outweighs you by 200 pounds in 4 ranks and placing yourself in a situation so it changes who you are. And we were talking about this the other day, is there's a difference between just technique, having information put into your head, and then placing yourself in proximity of environments of change. I mean, that's one of the reasons I come up with these guys. I'm fortunate to be on the team, but these guys are my mentors too. I come because of their background, their experience, and I want to use the principle of proximity to learn myself. And so to go back to the original question, no, I don't think most people are. I can't say that I am, not at the level of these guys, but that's why I'm here. I want to learn more. I want to grow more and try to do it as an intelligent process as possible. So that if I ever had to deal with it, I have a better chances. My percentages of success will go up.
Yeah, and I think we live in a world, in a bubble. It's very comfortable, especially here in the United States, where we could wake up in the morning, grab our cup of coffee, go to work, have our work day. On the way home, we stop at the supermarket, and then we go back to the house. That becomes very comfortable. So I think that a lot of people feel that they're ready for violence. But in reality, like Coach Sifu said, is that they're not ready. Even people that have been in combat and many years in the military, we tend to become comfortable too, once we're taken out of that environment. And we have to check ourselves once in a while. And say, hey, I'm kind of not keeping up with what, my mindset should be. Or, this is a reality check on this. Certain things happen, especially with children and things like that, where it just triggers you back and it's like, yeah, I've been lacking on this. So because of our environment here in our country and the freedoms that we have this sense false of security. And we tend to fall and get comfortable in that space. The true test of being ready for violence is to be involved in one of those incidents. Mm-hmm. That's really the ultimate challenge, right? So how can I overcome that if I can't be in violence every single day? I got to train to the best of my abilities, and I have to embed that into my mindset of what my behavior should be and what my go times are in different exchanges and different situations. I want to have a plan for the situations that are common in my everyday life with my family, by myself, the places that I go. I want to have those things already worked out in case that something does happen. I have the confidence to just implement my plan. Can I be prepared for every single place that I go to? No, but I can generalize my training where I can recognize where the second that I walk into the building, these are the exits of the buildings. This is what I need to be paying attention to. who comes in through that door, where's my back to? Am I protecting myself with those? And I can apply that in a restaurant. I can apply it at the bank. I can apply it at the supermarket. Those kind of things. Recognizing people that can become a threat, abnormal behaviors, right? If that's just simply training. How can I identify someone that is about to get into that? Coach Sifu says that a lot about the primal state.
Mm-hmm.
If I can recognize those things, I can start creating that kind of distance that can give me the time to exit the building and make a better judgment in a process where things go to chaos very quickly. So, back to the question, are most people ready for violence, so they're more curious than anything else? I think your curiosity is of the highest, but you have to start somewhere. So if that is what is triggering you right now to look up information and get some training, go for it. Push through. Find some good coaches that can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you guys. I think most people have been desensitized to violence, and that's been, I think, happening largely because of the way communications have evolved over the last, say, 50 years, probably even longer. But there's been a desensitization to violence, and there's all kinds of different varying views. I look at violence the same way I look at a hammer or a gun. There is no feeling behind it except for the person that's wielding it. So it's a tool. And as just like any other tool, you need to train with it, and you need to observe, orient, decide, and act. Ultimately, it's a tool. And most people are desensitized to it, but they're not trained in it. And so that affects your judgment, that affects your decision making right at the point of action. And so, no, most people are not prepared. And the only way to prepare is to train. And I would also argue that there is some level of awareness you can gain from YouTube University, but there is no substitute for actual training and learning from coaches that know how to train and can teach you how to train.
Proximity.
Safely. Yes.
You need to get with a mentor, get with an instructor, someone that knows how to create an educational environment where you can taste that language of violence, but not get injured from it. We discussed this earlier, and it is a form of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, why do I need to study violence? Why do I need to know these things? Well, we made this point earlier. The bad guy, that's his language.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out there going, well, why would I train with this gun? Why would I use it? He's going to use whatever tool is at his disposal to achieve the end goal, to turn you off and take what you have.
Yep.
So he's going to show up with it. And that's one of the reasons to have some source of information at some level. There are multiple levels for me, and I talk about this a lot in the combat blueprint. Firearms, projectiles, edge and blunt weaponry, striking, pummeling, and obviously ground. It can happen. And you should have something in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we were discussing this morning. It's one of the reasons, because Coach asked me, what got your interest in firearms? To the point where I actively started pursuing it aggressively. And it was the principle of the combat blueprint. I look at that and go, wow, I did a lot on this end of the scale, but this is combat science, and that is a part of it. And I was behind, and I needed to catch up, and you look at what goes on in the world when the bad guy shows up, that is a common tool he brings.
Yeah.
So why was I not educating myself? And for me, one of the best forms of education, like we just mentioned, is proximity and a good mentor. You get in the room with good educators. You get in the room with the guys that can create that environment. You're not going to do it on a video. It's not that you can't learn a few things, but if you want real change, you got to show up.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like hands-on touch when you are wanting to educate yourself, especially with this type of environment. So.
Yeah, and there's no stress in watching videos.
No, I mean,
right? You have to put yourself through some level of stress. How do you think on your feet? The closest thing to stress watching a video is when your Wi-Fi slows down, right?
It stresses me out. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, right? So, getting a good coach is very important, and finding good training for sure. 100%.
All right, guys, keep the questions coming. Hopefully, we are getting good information for you guys. And if you have more, you can write them in the comments below. I don't necessarily pay attention to them, but I know the redhead does.